Michael Pena calls him an idiot for, yelling at a judge during a hearing while sitting in the audience.
I totally went with a different Michael in my head, and that was a very confusing mental image until I realized that's not who you're talking about.
Yeah, I heard that motorcycle, though. Did you hear the motorcycle?
I did hear a motorcycle.
Yeah, you want to try that again?
No, it wasn't really that important. You can cut it.
No, I want to keep it. I want to you're talking about a different Michael. Hello and welcome to Book Retorts. I'm Sam.
I'm Danielle.
And this is the podcast about sharing your weird media finds with your friends who don't know what you're talking about.
That's me.
That's you, Danielle. What do you like?
What do I like?
No, what do you like, Danielle? If you're the inexperienced one here.
I'm not giving you some weird metaphor simile thing that Sam always does.
All right, well, that was a shot.
Newborn lamb in the spring, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah, I tried. It was a shot. Danielle, boy, do I have a big old ball of weird for you today. And I think you're going to appreciate pretty much as soon as I give you this description why I picked this particular movie.
I'm so scared.
I'm also feeling very honored that I brought in our first Roland Emmerich film, The Master of Disaster.
Okay.
All right. The movie is the 2022 film Moonfall.
Okay.
So here is your description, Danielle. Enjoy that.
In Moonfall, a mysterious force knocks the moon from its orbit around Earth. Do they drive it away? Because that's the only way that's good. And sends it hurtling on a collision course with life as we know it. With mere weeks before impact and the world on the brink of annihilation, NASA executive and former astronaut, Academy Award winner Halle Berry, is convinced she has the key to saving us all. But only one astronaut from her past, Patrick Wilson, Midway, and a conspiracy theorist, John Bradley, Game of Thrones, believe her. Those always, throw off an entire sentence when you do that.
I know, it's great. I brought them in there.
These unlikely heroes will mount an impossible last-ditch mission in space, leaving behind everyone they love, only to find out that our moon is not what we think it is.
It is! Yes!
Jeez!
Really?
Wait, that is what we think it is.
I like that last sentence really sneaks up on you.
And I wasn't reading ahead like I normally do as I read, so that was a surprise.
You gotta go in blank. That's what makes it fun.
I can't help it that I read in my head faster than I read out loud.
You could at least make an effort.
I did. That's how I was surprised.
Exactly. See how good you did, Danielle.
Well,
all right.
That's a choice for a movie that exists. Halle Berry, what are you doing?
That was my first thought. I'm like, well, they got Halle Berry to do this? She must have really needed the money for something.
She's had a hard road since she was really famous and doing a lot of really well-known,
she's amazing,
solid movies. Yeah, she's pretty good. And then suddenly just kind of weird stuff.
I don't know what happened. I hope she's all right, but I am not here to discuss Halle Berry. This is not the E! Hollywood Story podcast.
Oh my gosh, there are so many of those. What are those fuzzy things that float in the air? The cottonwood.
Okay. Whoa, Danielle.
I'm sorry. There was literally a wave of cottonwood that just floated past my window. So much. It looked like snow was falling.
That's actually appropriate, Danielle, because this is, of course, a Roland Emmerich disaster film. So there's going to be lots of carnage on the planet. That could be what you're seeing is the precursor to whatever disaster will befall your humble little town.
I'm pretty sure they're little cottonwoods because they're caught in the screen of my window, but whatever.
I'm just trying to set the mood, Danielle. All right, so let's dive right into this movie. So it opens with the Apollo 11 launch over all of the various film logos, which is very choppy and weird and kind of hard to follow, but I guess it's better than just seeing a bunch of logos with no context. So, good on the movie.
So Apollo 11, in the past?
Yeah. It's all about the Apollo 11.
We know that Apollo 11's already happened, right?
Yeah, no. This takes place in 1912. Apollo 11 is happening.
1912?
Yeah, no, they got there early. It's the alternative timeline. No, we Apollo 11 space launch is happening. It doesn't really matter. This is just some set dressing.
Okay.
We cut to a space shot of Earth. It's 2011. There's a satellite repair mission going on. We know this because the words appear, 2011, satellite repair mission. So thank you.
This movie was set in 2022? Is that what you said?
Well, that's when it was released.
Right. Is that what it's set in? Or is it set in 2011?
Danielle, we're going to find out all those questions. Answers all those questions soon enough.
Nobody ever answers my questions. And by nobody, I mean you.
I answer most of your questions that I can answer, just not as immediately as you demand.
Yeah, that's a problem.
Yeah, for you, not me. So while we're in space, the dulcet tones of Toto are playing. Two characters.
Africa?
Yeah, of course. What other song by Toto do you know? Name one other song by Toto.
I can't. I'm sorry, Toto.
Look, Toto's great, but no one knows the song that isn't the Africa one.
I'm sorry.
So two characters argue over the lyrics. One is Halle Berry, who claims she knows that it's blessed the rains down Africa, not missed the rains down Africa, because she karaoke'd it at her wedding. The other character describes her as his work wife to the third astronaut, and that's just sort of like there's the dynamic of the friendly, bickering co-workers in space.
But it is bless the rains, right?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay. Make sure we're all on the same page here.
Yeah, no, Halle Berry's right, as I would expect. So apparently Halle Berry is here instead of on her honeymoon.
No, Halle Berry, what are you doing?
Yeah. Yeah, they're like, oh, that's too bad you couldn't make it your honeymoon. She's like, that's fine. This definitely beats the view from Italy. And I'm like, that's not the point. That's not the point.
Not the point at all. That poor guy or woman or whoever she ended up marrying.
Yeah, we're going to learn more. Spoiler alert. No, I'm not going to spoil that. We'll get to it, but you're correct. It does not work out well.
That's so sad.
Yeah, no, I'm like, this is not setting me up to like these characters very well. Suddenly, the ominous music kicks in. And then what looks like a wave of dark liquid or smoke or something crashes into the space shuttle, causing the not main character astronaut to be flung off, and he's dead. He's gone. Bye-bye.
No, poor astronaut number 3.
Didn't get his name. Didn't care. The other astronaut struggles to get back inside the shuttle. Halle Berry has been knocked unconscious, and as soon as he's inside, he sees out the windows that the not liquid or whatever it looks almost alive or like alien or something. It's definitely not just, cosmic rays or a random phenomenon. It's moving around too weird. Anyway, the only awake astronaut, he corrects the uncontrolled roll of the shuttle and then commits to getting Halle Berry home. How and why hasn't he called mission control yet is a question that does not get answered in this movie.
No, isn't that the first thing you do when you're hit by unexplained phenomena in space?
Yeah. Hey, mission control, something weird just happened. Maybe you could help me out here. Instead, he's like, I'm going to get you home. He's like doing a Sully Sullenberger without calling back to the control tower.
Deeply concerned.
Yeah, I really question his credentials as an astronaut from this. He then stares out the window at the moon, and we zoom in on the moon. The camera races across the surface, and we see a crater, and inside the crater, there's like a cylindrical hole. That's where the black powder, liquid, whatever, goo, I'm going to call it goo. That's where it came from, the moon's core.
Is this just like a pitch black thing?
Not even remotely.
That's a great movie, though. We should talk about that movie.
I love that movie. It's weird, but I don't know if it would qualify because we both seen it.
It wouldn't qualify because we both seen it. I just think we should talk about it more.
It's a great movie. It's honestly, and I might get some pushback, but I think it's Vin Diesel's best.
I would agree. Fight us on it, I guess.
Yeah, fight us, right? I mean, maybe the Iron Giant, fine, but I'm sticking with Pitch Black. After all that stuff, he sees the moon, we hit the title card. Moonfall. Ba-da-ba.
It's a very obvious title.
I don't think Roland Emmerich is known for his subtlety, Danielle.
What should we call a movie where the moon falls out of space?
Well, what do they call The Day After Tomorrow, Danielle?
I'm not saying that it's there's a bad title. I'm just saying it's an obvious one.
I'm just saying that's his shtick. Like The Day After Tomorrow, Independence Day, Moonfall. They're all pretty on the nose.
Independence Day is great.
Great movie. Again, I might get some heat for this. Roland Emmerich's best movie.
Who's going to argue with you about that one? That's coming up too. Well, just 2 more months or 6 weeks, we can watch it again.
Independence Day?
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, you can watch it anytime you want, Danielle.
But the fun of it is watching it then and then yelling Bill Pullman's lines very dramatically.
All right, but you were going to argue with me about that being his best film?
No, nobody's going to argue with you about that.
Okay, good. Great. I would hope not.
But maybe Moonfall is. I don't know. We'll find out today on Book Retorts.
Spoiler. Definitely not. All right, so we cut to a moving van being unloaded. A helpful radio is playing news about the satellite repair mission disaster from 18 months ago.
That's because, as we know, radio and TV shows only play things that are pertinent to the plot.
Okay, I'm gonna tell you something I do here a lot, Danielle, is I make a conclusion about something in this movie because it introduces stuff with no context. I'm later wrong about it. I'm just gonna stick to my wrong assumption and not correct myself.
Okay, sounds good.
Like, for instance, it's not a radio, it's a son watching a stream on his laptop or a video on his laptop, but it's the same thing in purpose, so I'm not gonna bother correcting that.
I thank you for sharing, even though I'm not watching it and therefore would never know and don't care.
No, there are people out there, Danielle. I'm just heading this off at the pass because it's going to happen a lot in this movie, and that's fine.
Just no, everybody. Sam's just going to make things up as he goes along.
I'm just going to commit to my wrong assumptions and not really correct them because who cares? Anyway, the satellite repair mission disaster from 18 months ago, Ryan, who is the not Halle Berry astronaut, had a wrongful termination suit against NASA that did not go well for him since no one believed his story about the weird material. And I'm like, doesn't NASA have like cameras on shuttles and flight recorders and stuff like that? But that doesn't seem to matter. There's no evidence. They just assume that he had some negligence and screwed it up.
I like to assume they just send them off into space with absolutely no kind of visual or like auditory backup. That'd be fun.
Yeah, just go off there. That's why I didn't call back to mission control. He's like, you're on your own.
There's no way to communicate, record, or show us anything that happened in space, even though the whole reason we go into space is to find things.
This movie does a lot of like waving away of things that should really be obvious to everyone involved. But Halle Berry is called to testify, and she's like, it could have been a solar flare or something that knocked out all the power. We have no record because she was unconscious, so she didn't see what happened. And he's like, what? I wasn't a solar flare. And they're like, well, I guess that means it's your negligence. I'm thinking, wait a minute, how's a solar flare his fault?
Yeah, that doesn't make sense either.
No, I guess like the thought is there was a solar flare that knocked out the power and then he did something stupid that got his friend killed. But like, that's a big leap in logic that rather than just a solar flare screwed everything up and he's not on the hook.
Maybe he was being fired because he didn't contact mission control.
Okay. If they had made that point, 100% on board, no wrongful termination suit, NASA in the right. But no, that's not the argument they're making. He's very upset and he was fired and blah, 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 blah.
Got it.
So this is apparently the Ryan family's new house, or at least his wife and sons, because maybe they're divorced now. Nothing is ever made clear in this movie until like an hour after it's introduced. The son, who's named Sonny, of course, because again,
as all good sons are.
The obvious naming continues. He has a son. What's his name? Sonny. What's the name of the movie? Moonfall. Great. Print. Done. Sonny is angry. He's like, I don't know, 7, 8. He's angry at his dad. They lost the house due to the fallout from the mission, and they had to move to New Jersey. And he hates New Jersey. And Sonny,
I mean, who wouldn't?
Yeah, exactly.
Just kidding, New Jersey. As always, we love you.
We love you. We love your status as the punching bag of the Upper East Coast, and you wear that with aplomb and good humor.
Yes, much like Ohio. We love you as much as we love Ohio.
I love New Jersey more than Ohio. I'm going to say that right now.
So do I, but I can't help it. I grew up in the Midwest.
Yeah.
Can't love Ohio.
Cut to 10 years later. This movie just really jumps around and doesn't really give you a chance to think about anything. Like, it's really fast-paced, which is
Maybe that's good.
Well, it's to the advantage of the movie, that's for sure. A janitor is buffing a floor at UC Irving, which, again, helpful text lets us know.
Where's UC Irving?
California, obviously.
Oh, sure.
It's University of California, Irving.
Okay. No, I don't know, Sam. I didn't know that.
You didn't know the UC system? Ever said like UC Berkeley or UC Santa Cruz?
I've only heard UC Berkeley and UC Santa Cruz.
Okay, see?
I haven't heard what?
Well, I mean, I guess how many UCs are there?
I don't know.
University of Connecticut, Irving. I guess that's true.
I don't know. It could be lots of the Colorado.
Okay, you know what? Colorado features heavily in this movie, so I guess that's a good shout.
I think that was a valid question. Listeners, you should back me up.
No, fair enough. Absolutely fair. That's on me for not spelling out UC Irving. I don't know how to pronounce it. Don't at me.
To be honest, I probably wasn't paying that much attention.
Yeah, there you go. So a professor comes out of his office past the janitor, who immediately jams his floor buffer into the door so like it doesn't close as the professor leaves, and then he sneaks inside and sort of like hacking on the computer. And the professor does not notice this, even though he's like feet away from the guy as he's doing this. He's like literally, you can see him walking down the hall as he jams his buffer into the door.
Crazy. He's lost in his own thoughts.
Sure. He's very, I guess the academics, you know how they are.
Yeah. Don't pay attention to anything. You should know how they are, Sam.
I unfortunately do. The janitor dude, he takes a pill, which you think would be important later in the movie, but isn't. So didn't know that at this point, so I mentioned it.
Why do movies do that? Why?
I literally just realized as I read this sentence, oh, that never comes up later. He switches from a British accent to an American accent and then places a phone call to Argentina and pretends to be the professor and tells the person, quote, he's still tracking the moon's orbit and that they should send the data to the other email address he sent it, not the school email address. The guy's like, yeah, sure. That's all perfectly normal things to ask of me.
You don't know their relationship.
Then the real cleaners, the real janitorial staff shows up and he runs out to his real job at a fast food joint.
Oh, wow. Plot twist.
He then gets an email as he puts on the headset. Well, it's weird. He puts on the headset for the drive-through window, but he's not the woman who drives him to order from him. It's just talking to him through the window. So I don't know why he's wearing the headset. It's not going through the little speaker box.
Just because that was just to give you a cue as to what was going on.
Yeah. No, again, I'm realizing a lot of things as I'm talking to you about this movie that I did not notice because it moved so quickly. Because he's puts on the headset, starts talking to the woman, she makes an order, but he immediately gets an email, and he looks down at the email at his phone, and then just I gotta take my 10-minute break, and leaves a job that he literally just arrived at, and he runs outside to make a phone call, and he makes a call claiming to be Dr. So-and-so, and to be immediately patched into the director of NASA. He has very important information for the director of NASA, but he apparently called the NASA gift shop. So I don't know what he was expecting to accomplish there.
He's a supposedly great hacker and he gets the phone number wrong.
I don't know. And also the gift shop is apparently still manned. There's someone at the desk, this woman at the desk, even though it's clearly 10 o'clock at night or something very late and is closed. So I don't know. Maybe NASA has a 24-hour gift shop policy. I don't know.
It's just in case.
None of this makes sense. I'm so confused. We cut to Halle Berry waking up to a call, then heading out after checking in on her son. Halle Berry's wife, the woman she's living with, apparently, gives her a cup of coffee as she heads out. This woman is not introduced in any way.
So we're assuming it's maybe the partner, but we're not sure?
I have no idea. This is just a woman who gives her a cup of coffee, and it seems very domestic, and this was my assumption was maybe wife.
Okay. I'm glad this movie is so clear as to what's going on.
It is entirely unclear, Danielle. Cut to the Johnson Space Center. Barry is informed, and I'm going to call her Halle or Barry this whole movie because I did not get her name and I did not care.
You didn't get it at all? Ever?
We got it eventually. I think they mentioned it a couple of times, but at that point I'd already written Halle Berry in my notes a whole bunch. I'm not going to change my notes.
This is why I watch things with captions when I can.
Again, they didn't introduce her name until 10 minutes after the movie she introduces the character. So even if I had captions, I would not have gotten her name until then.
Not necessarily true. It depends on the captions. Sometimes I'll tell you who's speaking.
You know what? Touche, Danielle.
Yeah. I watch a lot of stuff with captions.
I know.
I like captions.
Anyway, Halle Berry is informed that the moon's orbit has shifted.
Uh-oh, that can't be good.
It's decreasing, and she's upset that the moon has changed orbit. Which, sure, but also the moon's orbit is changing. It's constantly spiraling away from Earth at 3 or 4 centimeters a year, so.
But we're assuming it's changed in a way that's not how it normally changes.
Yeah, no, it's coming closer now. So that is a big change if it's going from moving further away to moving closer.
Wouldn't that screw up a lot of stuff?
Ooh,
quickly?
Yeah. I mean, again, the moon is moving away at 4 centimeters a year, and it hasn't screwed anything up really that much.
Yeah, but if it suddenly went back?
Yeah, but if it depends on how fast it goes back. If it goes back at the same rate, we wouldn't even notice it for several million years.
Well, it's not called moon scooch. It's called Moonfall. So we're in trouble.
Obviously, this is going to be a big problem. My point is, it is not inherently a big problem. It depends on the rate of change. The lunar reconnaissance probe that they have on the moon, I guess, they bring up a perfectly crystal clear image from that probe, and they see that same goo material being emitted from inside that same crater on the moon that Ryan the astronaut claimed he saw when he's at that hearing about his wrongful termination suit.
Well, it sounds like he's going to get his job back.
Now we cut to Beardo McFake Professor, still trying to talk to some higher-ups at NASA. His room has a standard serial killer collection of newspaper clippings on the wall.
Excellent. About the moon? Is he stalking the moon?
Kinda, yeah.
Excellent.
He has a restraining order from the deputy director of NASA that he's been trying to get a hold of. No, just the moon. Yeah. That moon must stay 240,000 miles away from me at all times.
And that's the whole issue in this movie. It's just that the moon gets way too close.
He's like, you're in violation of restraining order, lunar body.
He's like, I'm trying to get away from it, but I can't.
That would be a much better movie. Legal shenanigans with the moon.
I'm assuming that's what's coming up. You can't tell me otherwise.
I really don't want to, Danielle. I do not want to burst your bubble there. Anyway, he's hung up on, and then when he's hung up on, he asks, what would Elon do? And that's like the last person you ever want to emulate or take advice from.
That aged poorly.
Yeah. Anyway, the best thing about this character is his cat. Guess the cat's name, Danielle?
Neil.
No, but very close.
Buzz.
No. One more.
I'm fairly out of astronauts. I only know 2.
It's Fuzz Aldrin.
That's good.
Yeah, see? Very good. Best joke in the movie by far is Fuzz Aldrin the cat.
That is very good.
This cat has apparently peed outside of his litter box on some newspapers, and I'm going to call this guy Beardo from now on, because I don't get his name for a long time.
Did he leave the newspapers on the ground? Because that's just asking for cats to pee on them.
No, because he's like, this is apparently a thing. He's like, I thought I told you to use the litter box. It's apparently an ongoing thing, so the papers were down as a preventative measure.
Poor kitty. Probably stressed because his parent is so crazy.
Yeah, absolutely.
You love the moon more than you love me.
Kinda. Ooh, we're gonna get into that. So this cat peed on a newspaper, and so as he's picking up the newspaper to like clean it up, he sees a headline of something called Astronaut Day, and he's like, well, Astronaut Day, that's today. And then he gets an idea and like leaves. And I'm like, what? And he's like, that's it. He's got an idea and he's gone. Like every scene is like 3 minutes or less, and they're all like, something happened, it's a big deal, we don't know what it is, and the scene ends, and it cuts to something else. Like this movie's incoherent. It's an absolute mess.
I love Astronaut Day. It's the best day of the year.
He's like, oh, and he just sees the peed on newspaper. Like, and how did he not see that when he put it down for the cat?
How does he not know Astronaut Day? It seems really, like he would.
You'd think. Anyway, so I'm just going to roll with it because I can't keep things straight. We cut to Beardo going to some observatory. I think this is Los Angeles, supposedly, like that one up on the hill in Los Angeles, that famous observatory. As he walks in, there's a bunch of kids sitting down, like waiting for someone. And they're like, oh, our teacher said you're a washed up no-show astronaut. You don't look like an astronaut. Are you going to teach us about space? And they're like giving him guff. So, you know.
How old are these kids?
You know, like 12.
And there's no teacher present?
No, apparently not.
Shenanigans. That's like in classrooms and movies where like all the kids are, you know, making fun of some other kid and the teacher's just sitting at their desk doing absolutely nothing about it.
Yeah, no, this movie does not care about your shenanigans, Danielle. It does nothing but shenanigans all the way down.
I'm already mad about it.
Oh, you're getting prepared to get madder. We cut to Ryan being woken up by his landlord for being late on the rent. He sneaks out a window and rides his dirt bike, presumably to get to the observatory that he's late to be at. Again, none of this is ever explained. I'm just piecing this together because I'm a smart boy.
I have a question.
Sure.
How did the kids know he was like a washed up astronaut?
I think they said like their teacher or someone said that to them, which is like, if you're going to bring your kids to see the speaker, why'd you like preface that by, hey kids, let's go on a field trip to hear a really loser astronaut. Like get them all excited for it.
Like nobody would ever do that.
No. This movie cares more about like getting its weird one-liners in than making any semblance of sense.
They'd just be like, you're going to speak with him, but he used to be an astronaut.
Yeah. They would not like paint him as a loser. It's really stupid.
Maybe they had some kind of beef with each other, the teacher and Ryan.
Astronaut beef. Yeah. It's not very tasty. It's a goo.
Dehydrated.
Yeah. Meanwhile, Beardo is like at the front of the area telling the kids about like the moon is an artificial megastructure and it's all fake. It's all a big conspiracy.
The moon's a conspiracy, which might be true apparently because the moon
movie
is not what it appears to be.
Yeah. And like, again, to be clear, you can't watch a Roland Emmerich film and know anything about anything and expect to have like a good time because you'll constantly be like, no, that doesn't make any sense. That's totally wrong. Because our best idea of what the moon is that it was formed by an impact of a Mars-sized body with Earth some, billions of years ago. Mm-hmm. But, this is Roland Emmerich. Why am I even bothering to try to think about how things actually are?
Yeah, that's not going to happen.
But I just want to correct the record for all our listeners. If you're a young, impressionable child, do not believe Roland Emmerich.
Why are you listening to us? Maybe don't believe us.
That's it. You know what? Don't believe us. Question.
And also, apparently the moon is filled with goo, children.
Oh, boy. Getting ahead of ourselves there, Danielle.
That's what we've learned so far.
So anyway, Beardo is going on about how aliens built the moon and how he's like, it's, in the perfect space, the moon is hollow and blah, blah, blah. And why is he doing this? Why is he just talking to a bunch of kids about his conspiracy theories?
Because they're a captive audience.
That's
and
a fair
there's no
point.
Adult present.
That's what the conspiracy theorists do. You're absolutely right, Danielle.
Yeah, why would they not talk to the children? That's how they get more conspiracy theorists.
That, a dumb question. I retract the question. I apologize.
I think it's the most logical thing that's happened so far in this movie.
Yeah, okay. That's fair enough. Yeah, you know what? That may be accurate. Anyway, Brian shows up, and I've learned here his name's actually Brian, not Ryan.
Oh, good.
But I'm still going to call him Ryan because who cares?
You're so mean to all the characters of this film.
Danielle, these characters are barely characters. They're like the most 2D things you've ever seen. They're cardboard cutouts.
Excellent. Well, Brian Ryan.
So he shows up. And Beardo is like, goes up to like, I need you to put me in touch with NASA. And he's like, they don't really have the best rapport with me at the moment because, the whole firing and lawsuit and all that kind of stuff. And he's like, well, I have information about the moon. It's out of its orbit and they'll definitely talk to you if you tell them about this.
How have they not noticed that the moon's out of its orbit?
They did. We had the whole scene with Halle Berry and her crew about that.
Okay, good.
So they figured out, like, it doesn't matter. But Beardo goes on and is like, there's something wrong with the moon's power source. Why is the moon need a power source? And as Ryan
you came in and somebody came up to you and was like, there's something wrong with the moon's power source.
That is this movie, Danielle.
Cool. All right. Well, have a great day, sir.
So, I enjoy a dumb disaster movie as much as anyone else, but I do have a problem with them because they validate, nutso conspiracy theories. And, I don't like the fact that they try to make those into, those are the reasonable people we should be listening to, not our scientists. They're the unreasonable ones. They're too rigid with all their years and decades of study and experience.
That's true. Depends. Some science fiction movies don't do that.
Yes, but most do. And it's very, I don't think it's a good, healthy societalist perspective to have, is all I'm saying.
Is that the problem? Are you blaming movies for our current situation?
No, absolutely not. I think it's an Ouroboros, Danielle. Let's just leave it at that. Anyway, he's babbling to Ryan about the moon and the center of the power source is failing. That's why it's falling out of orbit. And again, why does the moon need a power source to stay in orbit? Orbit's just like the Earth doesn't need a power source to stay in orbit around the sun. That's what orbits are. They're stable. That's the whole point.
Well, maybe the Earth is plugged in too. We just haven't heard that from him yet.
Okay, sure. The Earth has also a power source to keep it over the sun, and the sun has to have a power source to keep it in orbit around the center of the galaxy. Got it.
You don't know. You're not up there.
Yeah, you're right, Danielle. I don't know. How could I possibly know? So Ryan does the logical thing and has security drag that guy away because, duh.
Poor guy.
And as Beardo is being dragged away, he throws some papers at Ryan. He's like, read them. They're great. And he's like, yeah, sure, okay.
So why did he end up did he know that Ryan Bryan was going to be there?
Yeah, his picture was in the newspaper for Astronaut Day.
Oh, that's right. I forgot that already.
Astronaut Day, yeah. But apparently, the astronaut they got for Astronaut Day is a former astronaut who has been disgraced. So this all is fishy all the way down. They couldn't get an actual employed astronaut to come down to Astronaut Day at this famous observatory.
No, they're busy being employed, Sam.
No, my mistake.
No, but they would totally have connections to actual NASA employees.
You'd think. Anyway, Ryan heads home. And that night, while he's in his garage working on a muscle car, because characters in this movie, all the male characters, always have to be working on muscle cars.
Is that not what you do in your spare time?
Me?
Yeah,
do I work on muscle cars,
You're
Danielle?
a boy.
Yeah. I have so much garage space in my apartment that I can put my muscle car in, Danielle.
I haven't been there. I don't know.
Yeah, I think you can make a reasonable assumption.
Maybe you work on it outside. Maybe
Sure.
you rent a garage, Sam.
Uh-huh.
I don't know your life. God.
You know it well enough to know my muscle car knowledge is about extensive as this movie science knowledge is.
We all have our skills.
Yeah. Anyway, while he's working on the car, his ex-wife calls to tell him to turn on the TV. There's something you gotta see on channel 16. So he turns on the TV and there's a car chase and surprise, it's Sonny out on a joyride with one of his friends getting pulled over by the cops. No, that's not good. Poor Sonny. So I'm just going to skip a lot of the standard Roland Emmerich father issue, daddy issue stuff in this movie that's like, you got to up the stakes. I'm doing this for my son. And, because it doesn't matter. It's just there to like try to make the stakes higher. But when the stakes aren't the Earth being destroyed, I'm not really sure you need the emotional stakes to be any higher than that. Like, oh no, his son will be in prison if he doesn't get back out. Like, yeah, but the Earth will be blown up. I think that's all the stakes I need. Like, you got me. I'm invested.
But also,
yeah, because this movie is like over 2 hours long, and half of it is this like B story with Sonny, and I did not care. The more interesting part is the moon stuff, which we'll get to. So I'm going to like largely gloss over that.
I'm assuming Sonny would be better behaved if his parents had given him a real name when he was born.
That's mean. There are Sonnies out there who are lovely people.
No offense to Sonnies. It's a great name. I'm just making fun. It is a good name. I like it.
Yeah, I know. It's great. Anyway, later Ryan gets thrown out of his son's bail hearing for yelling at the judge, and then Michael Pena, his ex's new husband, who is a rich car dealer, calls him an idiot for, yelling at a judge during a hearing while sitting in the audience.
I totally went with a different Michael in my head, and that was a very confusing mental image until I realized that's not who you're talking about.
Yeah, sorry. Michael Pena. I love him. He's great. Of course.
I went with Michael Sarah?
Michael Cera, the one from Arrested Development?
Maybe that's not where I would know him from.
Juno, the one from
that one.
Scott Pilgrim.
All those.
Okay, great.
And I was like, he's somebody's husband? Is he even old enough to be somebody's husband?
Yeah, he definitely. I mean, he usually plays high school characters, but he's definitely a full-grown adult right now. I know he's
a full-grown adult, but I just couldn't imagine him as somebody's husband in a movie. It was really throwing me off.
Great. No, Michael Pena, wonderful man.
Got it.
Beardo then visits his dementia-ridden mother in a nursing home, and we're just going to skip that, because who cares?
Then why didn't you bring it up, Sam?
Like I mentioned, I'm skipping it. Back at NASA, the moon has entered an elliptical orbit, and after 3 revolutions, it will start raining down city-sized debris on Earth.
That's not good.
No. So the deputy director guy, I didn't get his name, he says, okay, then we have 3 months. Another dude says, no. As the moon gets closer, our months will start to shorten. We estimate we have 3 weeks. And what? Like, the Earth spinning faster would make the days go faster, and sure, months would take less time, but like the amount of actual time would still be the same, right? It doesn't change the speed at which time flows in the universe.
It doesn't change time.
I mean, yes, in the sense that time dilation, and then if we started spinning faster, it would change our, relative, but like not that much. We're not going like the speed of light here, So like, I don't know why they had to have this whole thing about, it's going to be 3 months. No, the time's going to speed up as the moon gets closer. So it's going to be 3 weeks. Like, just say it's 3 weeks. We would believe that. Like, you can make up whatever you want. You don't have to lie about time speeding up.
Crazy.
This is
Science Hour with Sam. Welcome.
I'm so angry. This part of the movie made me the angriest, not because the science is wrong, which it is at most of this movie, but because it was like so unnecessary to even have this in the movie at all. Like it adds nothing to the movie. They could just said 3 weeks and it would have been fine.
Unnecessarily wrong silence.
Yeah, it's like they went out of their way to make a very stupid, wrong thing about the way reality works. And they want to really say, hey guys, we're going to be so stupid. We really want you to know it. We're going to do it even though we don't have to do it. We're going to do it anyway. It's such an unnecessary, unforced error.
You should write them a letter. A sternly worded letter, Sam.
Yeah, I can write a sternly worded letter to Roland Emmerich saying, hey, cut out this one sentence from your movie. It'll make it better.
Because it really frustrated me. I even talked about it on my podcast.
So mad. Again, I'm less mad about the wrongness than about the fact that it's even there in the first place. Because it's not, I don't get it. Ugh. Anyway, Halle Berry insists they have to go back to the moon with help from the European Space Agency because, we have no space shuttles right now.
Mm-hmm.
But the other dude, the director, is like, we need a more concrete solution than maybe the Europeans can help us. And everyone, keep your mouth shut about all this. We don't want to cause a panic.
Oh, that'll last.
But oh no, immediately after he says that, everyone's phones start bleeping because Beardo posted on Twitter or something about the moon conspiracy and spreading like wildfire and everything's picking up. News agencies are picking it up because, of course, news agencies are going to pick up some random dude's conspiracy theory posts and take it for gospel because that doesn't happen a million times a day.
Sam, big question.
Sure.
If the world were going to end in 3 weeks, should they tell us?
I mean, depends on how and who. No, I mean, if there was anything we could do about it, sure. But If it was just like, oh, the sun's going supernova, everyone's going to die immediately, there's nothing we can do about it. Like, what's the point?
Just let it happen.
I mean, what are you going to do? Make everyone suffer? Like, cause panic?
I don't know. What if they could, panic would definitely happen.
Yeah. I mean, we know humanity, like, when we had COVID, which was not, an existential crisis in terms of the way the sun exploding would be. And look how well that went.
That's true.
Right? Imagine if, everyone, we have 3 weeks and the universe, or at least in our universe, is ending because the sun's exploding. How do you think that would go?
Not well, but a lot of people might call their loved ones, and that would be nice.
I mean, sure. I'm not sure that's a worthwhile trade-off. Again, I'm not here to make that moral judgment. That's not my job. I am on NASA dude's side here because they don't even know what's going on yet. They don't even know if they have a plan. So why start a panic before they even had a chance to assess the situation?
Sure, I would definitely agree that they should assess it first.
Right, but nope. Beardo spilled the beans. Everyone is taking it very seriously. So, the cat's out of the bag.
Well, sometimes conspiracy theorists make a run.
Anyway, in the middle of, as soon as all this news drops, Halle Berry gets a call from some dude in the Department of Defense who is her kid's father and therefore might be her ex-husband. Or both. Probably both.
Like her ex-husband that it didn't work out for because she didn't go on the honeymoon?
Yeah, that one.
Oh, poor guy. I wonder if it immediately ended because she wouldn't go on her honeymoon.
That would be, they had a kid together, so maybe they had that before the marriage. I don't know.
It's like a 30-second marriage.
The point is, I am making a whole bunch of assumptions about the relationship because the movie does not care to provide any context.
And that's wild to me because it didn't seem like it was a super important mission that she was on.
Yeah, just a satellite repair mission. It seemed routine.
Oh, why'd she even get married?
Why did you get married?
Seriously, why?
I don't know. Maybe there was one of the other astronauts got sick and they had to pull her in.
Maybe.
I don't know. Point is, he calls, and the call itself is unimportant, so I'm just going to skip it. Breaking news! NASA is holding a press conference about the moon, and they're reassuring everyone that there's no need to panic. Halle Berry, after the conference, tells up to her boss, says, you lied to the people. And he's like, yeah? Because I don't want to have a panic. And she's all very indignant about that, but I am on his side. Halle Berry, you are wrong.
You tell her.
But again, we're supposed to be identifying with all the weird nut jobs and conspiracy theorists in this movie. So, Halle Berry is supposed to be right that he should have just told everyone, yeah, everything's ending. We don't know what's going on. Panic. So good job, her, I guess. We're rooting for this person, I suppose.
I feel like they should at least try and look into it and see if there's something they can do prior to letting people know, if they let people know at all.
Right. But she's like, no, you should have told them the truth straight from the start. And I'm like, no, you're wrong, Halle Berry. You're always wrong in this movie.
Except she was right about the Africa song.
Yes, she was right about the Africa song. That's correct.
So she was right about one thing.
Okay. You know what? My mistake, Danielle.
I'm just trying to keep the board even here.
Okay.
Give Halle Berry your due.
Anyway, we learned that the new husband, Michael Pena, wants the ex-wife and their young daughters to flee to Aspen, which will be safer, I suppose. Everyone's Colorado is the new safe zone because I guess it's very high up, so it won't flood when the super tides come in.
See, Colorado was important to this. You made fun of me for talking about it. I thought you were being facetious.
No, I'm giving you your due. You nailed. You're predicting this movie surprisingly well for a movie that is so incomprehensible. I don't think anyone could ever predict it, but you've done it. Well done.
My brain works in mysterious ways.
I'm very impressed. Anyway, much as we discussed earlier, looting and panic and violence abound because, human beings.
Obviously.
As NASA launches a mission of some kind to go recon the moon. There's no sense of how long any of this takes. They had 3 weeks. I guess they put this together in 2 days. There's after the initial 2011 and then 10 years later, we never see any other cards that tell us how much time has passed. So I'm just speculating.
Well, it's within a 3-week period.
That's all I know. Ryan continues to work on the muscle car, but the news is going on and on about the moon being a megastructure, and Ryan remembers Beardo, because apparently the news is on board with his conspiracy theories.
I know that the first thing that I would normally think if I were a news anchor is, what's probably correct? The moon is actually a structure and is powered by a power source. Well,
we'll get to that power source later, Danielle. It is stupid. So Ryan finds a video on Beardo's blog inviting all the megastructurists to meet at some hotel for their conspiracy theory meeting or whatever.
This is like the Truman Show. Wasn't the moon fake?
It was where the camera crew operated out of. It was a control room.
Exactly. That's probably what this all... It's just the Truman... We're watching the Truman Show.
Danielle, I wish I was watching the Truman Show. That movie's amazing.
It's a great movie.
I'm going to say... possibly Jim Carrey's best movie.
I would agree with that. I do think it's probably his best movie.
I'm not saying his best performance necessarily, but one of his best movies.
It's a great movie.
Well, we're making a lot of proclamations in this episode, Danielle.
But we both agree. But that's unsurprising. We either violently disagree with each other, or we're like, yes, that's absolute truth. There are no arguments.
That's true. We have very different perspectives on things like pumpkin pie, but on Truman Show, we're on board. Nope. The worst pie.
How are we friends?
Because of the Truman Show, Danielle.
Yeah, we did watch that together once.
Yeah, well, that's again not surprising.
But not while eating pumpkin pie, unfortunately.
Well, you can eat all the pumpkin pie you want, Danielle. I'll stick to my fruit pies.
I was going to make a pumpkin pie recently because I have a pie shell and pumpkin, but instead I decided to make a banana chocolate chip bread today.
This has been Baking with Danielle.
A science hour with you, baking with me. I don't know what you want.
This is not, it's not condemnation. This is the fact that our show has gone so far off the rails. We're just pitching new pilots every 10 minutes for new shows we can do.
Okay, well, that banana chocolate chip bread, really good. Highly recommend everybody make it.
I mean, banana bread's delicious. There's no question.
It's extra good with the little chocolate chips.
I like walnuts in mine.
Yeah, I didn't have any nuts, so story of my life. But
ooh, you're in a mood today.
It was funny.
It was very good. Usually you don't make puns, Danielle, so I'm very impressed.
Yeah, that would usually be you. That's true.
Yeah. All right. Well, we got to NASA. Okay. No one's going to get that unless you use it as a cold open.
You can take it out. It's fine.
Nah, I might just leave it in there with no context. We'll see how I feel. All right. We get to the NASA mission. Some spacecraft shuttle-looking thing is orbiting the moon, looking at the hole in the crater. They launch a probe down into it because, if you do, you probe a hole.
Yeah. That's often what people do.
We cut to Ryan going into the Nutso meeting where Beardo is giving some presentation asking everyone to brainstorm about ways to fix the moon. Since it's artificial, they can fix it, right? If something's been built and it breaks, that means you can fix it again. Nothing's ever broken beyond repair.
Okay, I don't disagree with this sentiment. If you knew how the moon was constructed. They can think all they want that the moon is fake, and maybe it is in this movie, but they don't know anything about the actual construction of the moon. So how are you fix something that they can't?
If this is something so far beyond human comprehension that it's a mega structure, there's always been that for billions of years or whatever, then how the heck would we have any kind of capacity to fix it? This is like asking a chimpanzee to repair your computer.
Do they think it was created by aliens or something? How did they think this was constructed?
Beardo was on the alien train.
Okay. Boop boop. All aboard. Alien train. It's the best train in the world.
Choo choo. All aboard.
Oh, excuse me. In the universe.
Thank you. Now, let me ask you a question about Alien Train, Danielle.
Yes. Sounds like a great TV show.
Alien Train. Let me ask you, is that a train for aliens or operated by aliens?
I think it's probably both, and it probably travels all across the universes. And then all these
is
shenanigans.
Is this Soul Train?
Kind of. It's probably, there could be musical numbers.
Yeah, I was just hoping for alien musical numbers. Let's do it.
Yeah. I totally have a side tangent on that I will ignore.
Yeah. Let's hear it. No, Danielle, let's do it.
I've been watching Scrubs recently.
Oh, that's a surprise.
Yeah.
Great show.
Yeah.
Mostly it's a great show.
It's mostly a great show. Some of it aged poorly. And they're 20-minute episodes, which is nice, or whatever. But how amazing is it that that entire cast sings pretty well? Do you think they hired the people because they could sing, or knew they were going to do so much music? Or do you think it's just pure coincidence that the entire cast is decent singers?
That's a really good question, Danielle. Maybe they're all alien trained performers.
Yeah, it's just amazing to me.
Yeah, no, it's when people have much talent, it doesn't seem fair.
Yeah. Anyway, I've been thinking about it deeply because there's a lot of music in that. And I'm pretty sure they have a musical episode at one point.
I mean, to be fair, shows like Bob's Burgers, where they do a lot of musical episodes too, that cast, no one would say H. John Benjamin has dulcet tones, but he's a decent singer and they write the songs for him. So I think that's part of it.
Right. But Buffy, for example, also had a musical episode, but there are definitely one or two characters in that who are not great singers, and they just give them kind of one or two lines to do. And so it was clear that was something they added in later. It wasn't they specifically chose somebody along the way, but Scrubs has so much music in it. I wonder if they were like, well, maybe we should get people who can also sing.
It's a real good question. If you out there are Zach Braff, please write in and tell us.
I mean, for various reasons, please let us know. But
yeah, we'd love to have Zach Braff on the podcast.
We are curious whether or not the cast of Scrubs knew how to sing prior to getting hired, and that was one of the reasons they got hired.
Anyway, back to this nightmare.
Sorry,
no alien trains, unfortunately.
I've been thinking about it a lot lately. I don't know why.
All right. Anyway, they're trying to fix the moon.
Mm-hmm.
They're talking about ways they can fix the moon, which again I think is stupid. And Ryan arrives and takes Beardo aside and asks him how he knew about the moon first. Like, how do you know the moon was coming out of orbit before NASA knew? And then Beardo goes on and on about like, oh, I've done a lot of reading about Dyson spheres and how you can capture a white dwarf inside them as a power source, like a white dwarf star. And there must be there must be a white dwarf star in the moon's center, and that star must have failed, which is why the moon is falling out of orbit. And I'm like, okay, time out. Hold up there, buddy.
I have so many questions.
Yes. One, a white dwarf star has about the same mass as our sun. I looked it up because I'm like, that doesn't make any sense. And so therefore, it'd be like having the equivalent of our sun's gravity orbiting us, which would be ridiculous.
Mm-hmm.
B, if the white dwarf star failed, wouldn't the moon just keep orbiting? Because that's what orbits do. Like, it's like Newton's law. Like, an object in motion stays in motion unless acted upon by an external force. Like, unless there's something pushing the moon out of orbit, it would just stay in orbit. So, like, there's a piece missing here. And, like, I get that he doesn't know that, and there is explanation in the movie, but the fact that he's like, oh yeah, the sun failed, therefore the moon is falling out of orbit.
Okay, that was none of my questions, though. All valid. I figured the science was questionable. I was skipping it entirely.
Yeah, that's for me. I appreciate we have our different lanes. We're sticking to our lanes.
So my question was, how did he explain how he was monitoring the path of the moon?
So again, he was monitoring the path of the moon by calling up that guy in Argentina and stealing satellite time from that professor's computer.
How did he even figure all that out?
So this is what Ryan was just asking him. And so he goes on and on about the Dyson sphere and how...
No, I mean, figure out who he needed to contact, fake out B to even get this information to begin with.
I mean, he could have just read an academic paper and like looked for astronomers who had telescope time.
Then just decided to get the information from them because he was convinced. How did he even become convinced in the first place that there was a problem with the moon?
This is what Ryan was asking him.
Okay.
And so he's going off on this tangent about the Dyson spheres and white dwarf star in the moon center must have failed, and therefore all this is happening. And then we cut away because he never answers that question. The movie never answers that question. That's it. That's the only explanation we get.
That's annoying.
Yeah.
Why bother asking the question? Just ignore it.
This movie does that a lot. Like, why mention the 3 weeks or the 3 months if you're just like, oh, no, it doesn't matter? Why ask the question how you knew if it's going to like talk about white dwarf stars in the center of the moon and like then not answer the question about how he knew?
That was the information that was relevant, was the white dwarf star in the moon.
Yeah, Danielle, again, this movie cares more about like expositing at you its nonsense than it cares about making any sense.
So he thinks there's a white dwarf star and they like built a structure around it. Aliens.
Yeah, so we'll get to this. Danielle, I promise this movie provides so much exposition in like the last 10 minutes and tries to like back explain everything. It's like, oh, it's a big mystery that tries to reveal at the end. I'm going to tell you now, Danielle, it does not help.
Okay. I just wanted to be clear that where we are currently, that's what he thinks more or less happened.
He believes there is a giant megastructure built by some advanced civilization that has a star as a power source on the inside. It's a Dyson sphere, essentially.
Does he say why he thinks this exists to begin with?
No.
God.
He provides no explanation for why he thinks this exists. He provides no explanation for why he started thinking the moon, star, solar power had failed. And he provides no explanation for how he figured out what guy he had to impersonate or how to impersonate him to get satellite or telescope time.
I think the big one for me is just why he would ever think in the first place that it's failing. Because it's not like you can look at the moon and be like, that's different than usual.
Yeah, it's 3 inches closer. I can totally tell.
You would never know that.
Again, the moon is moving away from us about an inch or two a year. So, like, if you can't look up the skies, the moon is definitely further away now than it was 50 years ago. Like,
it does feel further away than when I was a child.
That's very melancholy, Danielle. Anyway, so they ask that question, and then they answer a different question. He's like a press secretary, basically. Back at NASA, the probe goes down the hole, and then it stops and is hurled back out the hole as the moon's orbit starts shifting back into alignment. Like, oh, something's happening, and the moon is shifting back to where it should be.
Well, problem solved.
Yeah, they did it.
It's just the moon being sneaky. It's like, shh, they're on to us. They like wiggle back into place.
Yeah, again, she's like, Halle Berry's like, oh, the moon is correcting itself. And like, what? How did you come to that conclusion?
You could tell. Apparently you can visually see the moon moving.
I mean, they know the moon's orbit is moving because they're monitoring it with their, satellites and telescopes and whatnot.
No, she's watching it.
But, like, I don't understand. She's like, oh, the moon is fixing itself. Like, that's the part I don't get. Like, sure, it's being fixed. Like, why do you think the moon is like, oh, the moon has intention here. It has a will.
It's sentient.
Yeah, exactly. This is what she's basically saying.
That's a bigger problem. I mean, even bigger than just a structure, being a structure with a white dwarf star in the middle, is that it's now sentient.
Oh, boy, Danielle. Anyway. As that's happening, the same black goo stuff from the start of the movie comes out and shoots out of the crater. It circles around the shuttle, then grabs it with like tentacle protrusions that slam through all the windows and like straight into the faces of the screaming astronauts, like murdering them.
Ew, dramatic.
It's actually very brutal and not at all in the same tone as the rest of this goofy movie. Like, that was very jarring.
How come that didn't happen earlier with Halle Berry and Brian?
We'll get to that, actually. Again, it provides answers, which are stupid.
Is Halle Berry like the coming of they need somebody to sacrifice?
This is basically Jupiter Ascending, where she is the lost alien. No, it's not the alien queen thing.
Just checking. You never know. I don't know where this is going.
You don't and you do. It's kind of amazing. All right. Meanwhile, parts of Earth are flooding with megatides because, the moon.
Right.
Ryan and the conspiracy crew look to escape the floods by heading up to higher floors of the hotel they're in. So just trapping themselves, I guess, in a building.
Are they by water?
I mean, they're in Los Angeles, I think.
Oh, they're still. I was thinking they were in Colorado and I was all confused.
No. Ryan's ex-wife and her new husband have taken their daughters to Colorado. Mm-hmm. Although they're trying to get Sonny out of prison because he was held without bail.
Well, that's what he gets for doing a car chase down the road.
That would be a big problem, I guess. I mean, that's like the normal thing that happens.
How old is he?
He's 18. He just turned 18.
Oh, that was a dumb time to decide to do something so stupid.
Yeah. The judge was like, oh, you're just turned 18, which is unfortunate for you. We're going to try you as an adult, which is, again, kind of stupid that, like, oh, if it was 2 days ago, you would have been tried as a minor. Like, our justice system is weird.
It is.
At NASA, Halle Berry and the director are talking. They conclude the goo is some kind of AI.
What? How do you know that?
Yeah. They just do. Danielle, don't ask questions.
They don't. They don't have a sample of it. They don't know
nothing.
Anything. They don't know diddly
They see
squat.
it come out and kill the astronauts. Like, oh, it had intention. It did that purposefully. So it has to be an artificial intelligence as opposed to, say, remote controlled.
Or a regular intelligence.
Yeah. Anything. They're like, nope, it's AI. And I wrote in my notes, they sure do jump to conclusions.
That is a huge that's not even a little conclusion. That's like the biggest conclusion in the world.
It gets worse, Danielle.
It could be literally anything.
Nope. She's like, it's an AI. It's clearly an artificial intelligence.
Why wouldn't you think it's an alien? That seems way more likely.
Like, again, Danielle, an alien AI or something, but they're like, nope, it's an AI. Definitely artificial intelligence because reasons that are not at all clear.
No, I so strongly disagree. NASA, what are you doing?
Halle Berry, what are you doing?
Yeah, but she's like, they're agreeing.
Well, he's not really agreeing. He's like, you know what? My job here is done. I quit. I gotta go with my family and flee to Colorado to escape this disaster. And I'm like, buddy, if the moon's gonna crash into the earth, there's no escaping in Colorado. I mean, come on.
Yeah, the safest place in the world. We all know. Denver.
Apparently Colorado is the impenetrable city, or like the impenetrable state. If you get to Aspen or if you get to Denver, suddenly like, oh, the moon crashing the earth, no big deal. We can handle that.
Well, it sounds like I have a higher success rate if that happens than you do.
I mean, I guess you're closer, I suppose,
exactly.
But you're also near a coast, which doesn't help.
It doesn't, but I'm closer than you. I win. Right. I have a better chance of getting there.
I'd rather get to Greenland. They have a bunker of seeds.
There you go. Problem solved.
Anyway, so the guy's like, I quit. You're in charge now. And he gives her his high-level clearance and is like, you're asking all these questions. If you really want to know, here's my clearance. You can go down the NASA rabbit hole. I'm like, oh, no, there is a conspiracy theory. Because, of course, all the conspiracy theories are validated in this dumb movie.
What is her job?
She's
just an astronaut, right?
No, she's been promoted to like some director of NASA, like not the deputy director, but like the second or third. I don't know. Maybe she's the deputy director.
Okay, she's got some kind of like higher up thing going.
Yeah, she's
not just a random astronaut that they're giving all this information to.
In the 10 years since her astronaut experience that we had at the beginning of this movie, she's moved up the ranks.
I would hope so, since she gave up everything to be there.
I don't know how NASA works, Danielle. I really don't.
I'm just saying, she didn't even go on her honeymoon. NASA should have given her a raise.
Does NASA even have NASA has its budget slashed every year by Congress? They don't have money for raises.
Well, then maybe they moved her up, but didn't give her any more money.
That's the worst.
Oh, yeah, it is. Who doesn't love more responsibilities for the same amount of money?
Yeah, right? Capitalism. So Halle Berry goes down into some archives, apparently in the basement of the NASA building she's in. And while she's down there, she's like, the director gave me his pass, therefore I now have his clearance, show me to the very secret records. And like, they do? They're like, yeah, you're not him, but you have his badge, so therefore you get access.
You definitely didn't steal that.
Right, like, that's not how this works. That's not how any of this works. I can't just like pick up like, some cabinet member's ID and be like, yeah, I'm not him, but he gave this to me so I get all the access to all the classified documents.
Is that not how it works for you? It always works like that for me.
Well, because you can like use your feminine wiles to talk to
maybe
past
it's
the guards.
because Halle Berry and I are women.
Yeah, I mean.
Gosh, our lives are so different than yours.
Yeah.
It's the only bonus we get, Sam. Give us a break.
Yeah, I'm giving it to you. I'm just saying it's unfortunate. That's the only bonus you get. Anyway, Halle gets these archives, and some old dude is watching her like on a security camera, and he loads a gun while doing so.
Creeper Pinky.
Well, so the old dude then rolls up in his wheelchair and reveals that he's some high muckety-muck at NASA who's known the moon was artificial since the Apollo 11 mission.
Oh, dear.
And it's been covering it up. He then claimed that there was a program they were doing they were developing that could stop the moon, but it was shut down for budgetary reasons.
Okay,
like,
question.
Wait. Yes, please, because all I have in my notes is this is so stupid, like all conspiracies.
So, I mean, the moon's pretty important.
Yeah.
Why would we want to stop the moon?
Well, again, I'm not sure if he means stop the, like, moon, like destroy it, or like stop it from moving, or kill the AI, or what. Like, he doesn't make it clear what he means by stop.
Okay, well, that's really important.
Yes it is.
To know. That was my biggest question. I'm sure I have others.
Also, like, if you're Congress or whoever who has the secret stop the artificial moon from destroying Earth plan, that's the last thing you would cut the funding for.
That was my other question, was like, what? Why is, like, everybody was just like, you know what? It's a giant structure. Whatevs. Who cares?
Like, literally, they say, the moon's a giant fake structure. We're thinking about making some kind of device that could stop the moon from destroying the Earth, but yeah, we decided that like exploring the secrets of this amazing technology, we're just not really worth it. We've never been back since the 60s or whatever, and also no one else cares. Like, no, you'd be on that moon so fast discovering technology and mining it for information. This is the dumbest thing.
Yeah, there's no way that would ever be ended.
No, absolutely not. There's like, no, we don't care. It's artificial, and that's not our problem. We just want to ignore it. Like, never. This movie is incoherently stupid. Like, I get having, a brain dead movie, you can just turn your brain off and enjoy. This one is so bad. Like, it's like provoking you. It's actively like mocking you. Like, oh, you think you can suspend your disbelief? Well, try this. All right, moving on. Halle is presenting this theory to some meeting of military peoples. Who they are, I don't know. The cabinet, maybe. She's like, if we can destroy the AI, the moon will just magically return to its orbit. And like, what? That's like, again, conclusions being jumped to here.
There it is. And also, I hope it's not AI, because I think that'd be much funnier.
If it's not an AI?
Yeah.
Well, I'll tell you right now, it is not an AI. It's that's, I don't know, A, whatever.
An AI.
It sounds weird no matter how you say it.
I don't know if you're telling me the truth or not yet, so I can't get excited.
Oh, I'm 100% telling the truth. It's not an AI.
Then is their plan ever going to work?
Oh, boy. But she's like, we can't get to the moon because anytime a modern spacecraft gets near it, that goo comes out and attacks it because we think the goo reacts to technology.
Okay.
Which, yes.
No.
Yes.
And also,
yes.
Maybe this is why we're not funding NASA. Is this movie anti-NASA?
It's anti-scientist in a way. It's anti-critical thinking skills.
It's rare that you find a movie that's this detrimental to NASA.
Like, these people, she is making wild speculation sound like fact here. And like, maybe she saw something in the archives that like they study this and they have all the answers, but that's never revealed.
Yeah, you can't.
And B, if that information was in those archives, then you think that the like top brass in the military would be aware of it and would be on her side.
Yeah. I wonder how much of this was wrong just in the script to begin with and how much this was like editing.
Yeah, because if this movie, again, well over 2 hours long, and it feels like half complete. Because again, I think they shoehorned 2 stories, the moon story and all the stories about like their kids, trying to get to Colorado and get to safety, which feel like 2 half movies shoved together into one extra long movie.
Right.
So I don't know. I can't answer that question, Danielle. But again, incoherent is how I describe this movie. I think it would be a fun group watch. Like, you get a bunch of people together who like to jeer, and it'd be a really fun group watch.
Well, now you know what to do with your spare time.
Yeah, okay. I'll get right. I really want to get right on watching this movie again.
With a group, Sam, with a group.
And so she gives this presentation, and assuming that she has no other evidence besides her wild conjecture, the military people reasonably declare, this is now a military operation. We'll take it from here. You can just go away, because whatever she's saying is nonsense to them.
Well, that's fair. It is nonsense.
Exactly. So then Halle calls over her ex-husband, who was in the meeting, to tell him that, like, hey, don't nuke the moon. Like, whatever you do, you can't nuke the moon. And he's like, we have a plan. You get our son, and let's all go to Colorado and be safe there. And again, why do you be safe there? B, even if we fired every nuke we had at the moon, we couldn't blow it up. So, like, what is the plan there?
Also, it seems like a terrible idea to nuke the moon when there is something inside of it, and you don't know what it is.
Well, they don't believe that there's something inside of it. They just think maybe it fell out of its orbit because of gravity failed. Yeah, I don't know.
What about the weird gooey smoke thing?
Yeah, that's a fair point. I don't know what their plan is, but, nuke it. That's the answer to everything.
Nuke it from space. I know.
No, nuke it in space, Danielle.
They should just drive it away.
They should. They should bring in Asimov and his brilliant plan to turn the moon into some kind of momentum engine.
Well, apparently you can, because it's structure, so drive it into space.
Danielle, you were so close.
Put a new structure there. It's fine.
So we cut to Beardo and Ryan having a discussion about their daddy issues. Skip! Do not care in the least.
This reminds me of Janie and how I skipped 50% of the wedding planning.
Right? And you told me about that too. And I just want you to know how much I'm cutting up for you that you don't have to deal with.
I skipped so much, Sam, that I did not say I'm skipping it here, I'm skipping it here, I'm skipping it here.
I've done the same thing here. So imagine if this is what I'm telling you I'm skipping, imagine what I'm not telling you I'm skipping.
Wild. Okay, carry on.
Back at Halle's place, the woman there that she was living with is actually an exchange student, apparently, from China.
Oh,
so,
okay. Good to know.
Yeah. So not her partner, but a exchange student that's living with her for reasons that are unclear, and they seem very close, which is nice, I guess, but wild.
I was kind of hoping it was her wife, and they'd managed to work it out after the disaster of their honeymoon.
I was hoping that, the reason she wasn't excited to go on her honeymoon was because, oh, wait, I'm gay. And so she married a woman then and divorced her husband.
I mean, we don't know. Maybe that's actually what's going on behind the scenes.
Very possibly. Anyway, not the more interesting story. This is an exchange student. They're all preparing to go to Colorado. Her son asks her why they're not sending up more rockets. He's like, we don't have any more rockets. They're all in museums. And then she's like, oh, I have an idea. And that's that kind of movie.
Let's take one out of a museum?
Yeah, exactly. It's that kind of movie where someone sees a peed on newspaper, I have an idea. Or someone, a kid says something, oh, that's my idea. It's very like Dr. House, where someone says something, it's like, oh, all the pieces have suddenly come together.
That's the best plot device, Sam.
Yeah, right. The other character, Ex Machina.
That doesn't happen to you in real life?
Never. Not once.
Really? Not ever?
I mean, maybe once, but not that I can even remember.
Okay.
Anyway, so she calls her ex about some secret weapon that had been developed that she read about in the archives, and is apparently just a giant EMP. So even back then, they thought the thing was a mechanical AI or something, and were developing an EMP to destroy it.
Again, why would you think that?
That is an excellent question. I don't think the Apollo 11 landing had sophisticated enough, readings. AI wasn't even a thing really at that point in the collective consciousness.
Yeah, why would you even think that? You would think, you're in space. I cannot imagine your brain would not go, aliens, 100% aliens.
No, what we need is an EMP to take out the artificial intelligence inside the moon.
Why would that? I do not understand the basic premise of this entire movie.
Danielle, it is so incomprehensible.
I'm mad that anybody ever went to AI first and not fourth down the line.
No, they're at AI, maybe an alien originated AI, but still an AI.
No, there's no reason to think that. They've not once proven to us that it should be an AI.
You are being my internal monologue while I was watching this movie. Just angrily shouting in my head, this makes no sense. So thank you for validating my feelings.
You're welcome.
And I wish I had a more satisfactory answer for you, but I do not.
Actually, I kind of appreciate that you don't. It makes it funnier.
So she's like, okay, get me that weapon. And he's like, why? You guys aren't cleared for another mission. She's like, leave that to me.
We're just going to drive a rocket into space.
She's going to be able to, she can just go rogue and steal a rocket from a museum, the space shuttle from a museum and launch it into space. And I don't, Danielle.
Out of someone's driveway.
But so we cut to helicopters flying over a mostly ruined city. They bust into the hotel where Ryan is and demand he comes with them. How did they find him? Shut up. Don't ask questions.
He's got a tracker.
And he's like, I'm going, but not without Beardo here. And so they end up in some interrogation room briefly. Then Halle Berry walks in and they start fighting. He's like, oh, it's the person who screwed me over. And she's like, what are you talking about? I didn't see anything. I'm sorry. And they he's still angry at her because she didn't back up his crazy story. And she's like, I was unconscious. What do you want from me?
I mean, that's totally fair. She was unconscious. What does he want from her?
Yeah. Anyway, it's all very manufactured and lasts about 4 seconds. And we breeze past it and they patch things up.
Oh, good. I was worried.
Anyway, she takes them to the control room. And this, I guess, is a Stealth Johnson Space Center because we're never told they go anywhere else. And she shows them the data from the probe and the AI attack. And Halle is all, the moon was trying to return to its original orbit during the AI attack until that thing went back inside. So her theory, Danielle, is that the moon is spontaneously trying to fix itself, but that evil AI that lives inside the moon is forcing it out of orbit.
Okay, We've already established that the moon cannot fix itself.
Danielle, why are they saying this is all that's such a wild conclusion to jump to? All you saw was the moon briefly shift direction while the thing came out. Maybe it was coincidental. Maybe it was some other reason.
Wouldn't you be concerned that if you truly thought that the moon was trying to fix itself, how would you not be deeply, deeply concerned? The moon is capable of fixing itself.
Very true. Along those same lines, how were you at the conclusion that those two things are related? You have to have a bunch of correlation, but no causal relationships here.
100%. Except
it's
in this
insane.
movie.
This movie is hella bent on having all its characters be 100% correct about every first conclusion they jump to.
I know my first conclusions are always the correct ones.
Never wrong, Danielle. Never wrong.
Never. Can't prove me otherwise.
Oh, boy. And so her plan, Halle explained, so they're planning a mission to attack the AI with the EMP, of course, but that the AI recognizes technology and will attack them if they show up in an electrically powered device.
I still don't understand why she even thinks it can recognize technology because of
Danielle.
One attack, possibly two.
Just one that she knows about, really. And so that they need Ryan to pilot a unpowered shuttle to the moon because he once landed a space shuttle, made an emergency landing with a space shuttle that was unpowered. So he has the experience of piloting or emergency landing an unpowered space shuttle.
Sure.
So A, can an unpowered space shuttle fly to the moon? I don't think that really makes much sense to me.
They're not going to fly it in and then eject it from something and let it pilot itself over there somehow.
B, yeah, he made an emergency landing once with an unpowered space shuttle, but landing in the Earth's atmosphere with wings and ailerons and all that kind of stuff is very different than piloting in space.
Correct.
Without power.
I would imagine.
So, yeah, none of this makes any sense is what my point is, which again, this movie is par for the course.
Well, in comparison to the other people there, does he have the most experience?
I mean, that's a fair point. He has a minuscule amount of experience, which is more than everyone else's no experience.
Well, that's what you get when you have a ragtag group of people trying to save Earth.
Yeah. Anyway, Sulky Ryan is all, well, I don't know. I got a lot of my own problems down here. And Halle Berry responds correctly that, oh, and the moon falling onto Earth isn't one of them? Which, yeah, she wins that argument because of course she wins that argument. It's stupid.
Yeah.
The moon's going to crash into Earth. Your problems do not matter.
Not at all. They won't exist in another, I don't know, 1 week, 3 days? What are we down to?
I had no clue, Danielle. Days, months, years, who knows? Time apparently speeds up or slows down with the distance of the moon to the Earth.
It will. That's because it's AI.
Oh, the AI is changing the time. It has control over time-space continuum.
I mean, magic AI. It's a real possibility.
So, her plan is to take the space shuttle, the Endeavour, from the LA Museum, a museum in Los Angeles, which is very dumb because they just see them driving down the streets of Los Angeles with the Endeavour. If you ever seen, like, there are some cool videos showing you how they moved the Endeavour into the museum in the first place. You had to, like, shut down roads and take down power poles and light posts because it was too wide to fit down streets. And it took a long time. And they're just, like, casually driving it down the street, pulling it with the tractor. It's great. And again, this movie does insane things like, are they driving it from LA to Houston, to the Johnson Space Center? Or, like, do they set up camp in California? Because, like, or do they assume, or are they trying to argue that, oh yeah, the Endeavour is actually, the museum is in Houston, so, like, it's like, don't worry about the fact that it's really in Los Angeles. No, it's in Houston, it's fine. It's like, the movie just doesn't even care about, like, where the space shuttle actually is, and it's like, it gets to Houston, don't worry about it.
I imagine a space shuttle can go down the freeway.
It cannot, Danielle. It really can't. I'll send you that video. It's real cool. Anyway, so they start driving the Endeavour through LA, and they're at the Johnson Space Center, and they've got it all set up and ready to launch because apparently you only need like 12 people to prep a space shuttle to launch.
Yeah, only 12. Sounds about right.
Like, they're down to like a skeleton crew. This is an unsanctioned operation, I suppose. Or maybe it's unclear. But as they are preparing to launch the shuttle, they observe that there's an earthquake happening all across the planet, like very severe earthquakes due to the moon being close. And one of the NASA dude goes, that doesn't make any sense. The moon doesn't have enough gravity to cause those kind of earthquakes. And then Beardo was all, we're dealing with a megastructure. Your rules don't apply here. And I'm like, wait, gravity doesn't apply anymore? Like,
we've already established that physics don't matter, Sam. I don't know.
One of the 4 fundamental forces of the universe doesn't apply anymore. Like, what is happening in this movie? And it's like, he just casually says that, and then, like, that's the end of the scene. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter.
Rules don't matter.
Anyway, the military brings the EMP over, but Ryan is like, ew, bombs are bad. And then that doesn't go anywhere, but also somehow they rigged the lander module to fly without electronics, so they're all ready to go. Everything's cool. They're good to go.
Excellent. This will totally work. How far are we into the movie?
About halfway.
Yeah, this will totally work.
Yeah, no, it's insane. This movie's so long. I get to the halfway point, I'm like, how is this movie an hour long? Oh yeah, there's a bunch of sunny stuff. That's how. Suddenly, there's an earthquake, and Beardo is all, your orbit calculations don't account for the moon's increased mass. So apparently the moon's mass is increasing somehow? What? How does Beardo know that? Like, what is he like looking through his telescope? Like, looks fatter to me. Like, none of this makes any sense. So anyway, the earthquake damaged an engine on the space shuttle. So, the mission is scrubbed.
Oh no.
Halle Berry orders everyone to evacuate to Colorado because, sure, why not? Colorado, let's go.
Safe. Did they ever explain why Colorado's the safest place?
The only explanation we have is that you get to high ground to avoid the floods. Which again,
and Colorado has the highest ground.
It's Mile High City, right?
There is no other place that has high areas. Because I live in a place with pretty high ground.
Yeah, apparently not. And also, apparently, your only danger from the moon crashing to Earth is floods.
That's the only thing. We're not concerned about anything else, just the tides.
No, like, fallout from ash being kicked up into the atmosphere. No, ice age, none of that stuff.
No impact issues. Who cares where it lands?
No volcanoes. What about that super volcano, the mega volcano under Yellowstone? That's closer to Colorado.
No
not
big
important.
deal.
Yeah, nope, not a problem.
Even though it would wipe out humanity as we know it.
Yeah. Avalanches, not a problem in the Colorado Rockies. What are you talking about?
Fine. Colorado's fine.
Come to Colorado, America's bunker. Their new slogan.
In case the moon crashes.
As they're preparing to get the last few people to leave, Halle sees Beardo's new orbit calculations with the moon's increased mass, and it's like, wait a minute, the increased pull of the moon's gravity could pull the shuttle into orbit even with only 2 engines. The mission's back on!
No.
I mean, maybe. Who knows at this point, Danielle? I don't even care.
I watched. This is the one scientifically accurate thing in the whole movie.
I mean, it could. Gravity does, work, but also, I don't.
Gravity does work. Earlier, they said that gravity didn't work.
I know, but I was gonna say, but in this movie, who knows if it works in the way that we think it works? I don't. I'm so confused. This movie has broken my spirit. It has completely I feel like I've been in one of those brainwashing camps where yes, I've accepted that we've always been at war with East Asia or whatever. You got me. You win, big brother.
We finally broke Sam. Podcast's over.
This movie has finally made me care not about correcting its wild inaccuracies. All right, but my question still exists. Like, if they just sent everyone off to Colorado, how can they launch with, like, 4 people as crew? But apparently they're going to do it anyway.
They can't. Well, maybe they should get some AI involved.
Right, that never goes wrong.
It makes friends with whatever's on the moon.
And we're real screwed then. So they realize that since they already sent all the other people who were flying with Ryan on the mission, like the navigator and whatnot, the engineer that were flying with Ryan, they've been sent off to Colorado. So they're left with Halle Berry having to take up her old role as the navigator.
Of course.
And they decided to bring Beardo along as the flight engineer because of his no qualifications.
I mean, that's what I naturally would have done as well.
I admit, this is way dumber than in Armageddon, where they trained the drillers to be astronauts instead of vice versa. And like, I don't think I've seen anything stupider than that in a disaster movie, but well done, Roland Emmerich. You have done Armageddon.
Armageddon is classic for a reason, Sam.
I really enjoy, like, Armageddon is a fun disaster movie. Does it make much more sense than this? Actually, kind of, yeah, it does a little bit.
If you go with the basic principle, the rest makes sense, at least.
Yeah, sure. I mean, why not? The drilling and who charges, sure, why not? I'll go with it. I should have watched Armageddon instead. That's a great movie. It's a fun movie.
It's been long enough since I watched Armageddon that you could probably get away with that.
Nah, that's fine. Moving on. They prepare to launch as a massive tsunami heads their way. So they skip the countdown and just, say, go for it, punch the button.
And go.
So, I've given this movie a lot of criticism, but I have to admit, Roland Emmerich is very good at making spectacular set pieces. Like, there's some really cool shots of this shuttle blasting up through this giant tsunami as it rolls towards it. So, credit where credit is due. Some stuff in this movie looks super cool. So, good job.
Good job. I haven't seen it, but I'm sure it's wonderful.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely spectacle. If you like spectacle, it's there.
Who doesn't?
So anyway, the shuttle blasts through a wall of water, which knocks their trajectory off a bit because, why wouldn't it? You're blasting through a bunch of water with the space shuttle.
Yeah, totally fair.
So they do some shenanigans about flipping switches and losing boosters, and the moon's gravity can pull them the rest of the way. And oh, look, it worked. Yay!
Hurrah!
And I have my notes. How is this only halfway through the movie? It's so long.
This should be like the 70% mark.
This is the 70% mark of the moon story, but now we spend 80% of the rest of this movie is the shenanigans with Sunny.
I hope you're skipping a lot of that.
I'm skipping 9% of it.
Excellent.
Anyway, I didn't even mention that Sunny was brought to the launch site and then taken to Colorado. Or sent to Colorado.
Why? They pull some strings in the jail?
Well, so I may cut this because who cares, but Ryan said he'd only do the mission if they got his son out of jail, so they go and dig him out of the rubble of the jail because everything's been destroyed and bring him to the launch site, and then when they scrub the mission, they send him back, but he doesn't actually go because the mission's back on, and he only leaves at the very end with Halle Berry's little 8-year-old son, and they decide to drive to Colorado instead of catching the last helicopter out.
Was he the jail was all broken apart, but he was still in a cell?
I have no idea, Danielle.
They didn't flee when their jail broke down?
Oh yeah, nope. Also, the exchange student goes with them because she's been brought along in all of this too, of course.
Poor exchange student lady.
Anyway, they make it to orbit. There's the whole subplot here where Sunny and the others get carjacked while driving to Colorado and they have to go steal a new car. And you think that would be interesting, but it's not. And we just gotta pick a lane, man. Just pick a story to follow.
Yeah, you tell it.
In space, they have Beardo dock them to the space station to refuel because, sure, that's still up there and working. And then he takes the selfie because he's awesome, I guess. I love him.
I mean, I would be, too. Yeah. Why would you not be if you're in space suddenly?
And then there's a fun shot as they get back in the shuttle of, the moon cresting the rim of the Earth. And, it's giant. It looks terrifying. It's really cool.
How?
Very ominous.
That's very cool. But there's a lot of training that goes into being physical training that goes into being an astronaut. Is he not having a hard time, Beardo?
No, they're just hey, Beardo, flip that switch then. You're oh, fuel pump switch, got it. They have oh, you gotta move to the left a little. It's joysticking the connecting arm into the space shuttle dock. It's what?
I don't even mean the tools and the capabilities of he obviously has not learned any of that. I'm talking about physically. Is he not ill?
That's a very, again, Danielle, that's a very good point. You have to do
they do a ton of training and stuff,
high G forces. You gotta do a 0G. Nope. You know what? He's just fine. He's a natural, I guess.
I mean, that's humans are naturally sometimes just good at being in space.
There's a whole thing about him, as a kid wanting to be an astronaut, but he didn't make it because, he has anxiety and claustrophobia. So, he's doing real well, apparently.
He's like, I'm fine now that I'm
up
here.
IBS. That's what it is, not anxiety, IBS.
That would put a damper on your ability to be in space.
I don't know. I'm like, astronauts go poo in their suits. It's perfect for them.
Yeah, but that's a lot of poo if you have IBS, Sam.
Okay.
More poo than the regular human.
All right. So they see the big cool moonshot. It's coming up. It's great. They do a little like burst, and he's like, and Ryan is controlling the thrusters by like opening and closing valves with his hands. So I guess it's how they do it without electronics. Fine. I accept that. They kill the electronics, and as they're like drifting towards the moon, they start like bumping into debris as they approach, but they make it through by the skin of their teeth.
Oh, good.
Yeah, they get this moon lander ready, and it seems they can use electronics again for some reason, and they then reveal that they're going to use the moon rover, the moon lander, as bait. Like, they put the EM bomb inside the moon rover, and they turn on the electronics to try to lure the AI to come grab it, and then they'll detonate it.
Okay.
So very tricksy.
It would have been funny if they'd missed the moon.
It would have been much funnier. But the gravity would have pulled them in. It's extra high, Danielle.
It's true.
Ryan readies the detonator, but the goo, the alien goo, the AI goo, hesitates and heads for, like, ignores the moon lander and heads straight for them in the shuttle. So Ryan smashes the detonator because, like, oh, it's coming for the electronics of the detonator. But that doesn't stop it. And the goo envelops the space shuttle. But then Ryan realized that Beardo still has his phone on, which,
what?
like, yeah. They knew he had his phone. They saw him with it, and they saw him taking pictures. Like, oh yeah, they didn't tell him to turn it off.
Sounds like they're. Why would it not? Okay, even if it's like attracted somehow to his phone, but why wouldn't it go for the other more electronic?
We will get to that. I promise. And it's much dumber. So Ryan smashes the phone, and the goo is like, okay, I go, and just went back inside the moon without the bomb.
But now they don't have a detonator.
Nope. So Halle Berry concludes that the AI needs both electronics and organic matter. Without both, it just ignores whatever it is.
It's like they jumped to conclusions the first time around.
Yeah. So she's like, oh, it needs both.
Could you put a dead body in the...
I think she said organic life, not a dead body.
So it has to be alive. Could you put
never
a squirrel in there?
I don't know. I don't know, Danielle. I do not have answers to these questions.
Like, could you put an animal of some kind in there?
I cannot tell you. But it is very stupid that she's like, yeah, that's what it is. It's human beings and electronics, not like some other reason. You know, that could be any other billion reasons.
A million other reasons.
Yeah, it's very stupid.
Or maybe it's really just attracted to organic matter and had nothing to do with the electrical issues.
Well, she's like, oh, the reason that we survived the first encounter was because it knocked out our electronics, and then once our electronics were dead, it ignored us, which is why he could land the space shuttle with no power back then.
But there was what?
So at the very beginning of the movie, that big disaster that killed his astronaut buddy?
Yeah.
The power got knocked out, and so the goo ignored them, and then he was able to land the shuttle back on Earth with no power. That was the one time he piloted a shuttle with no power.
So it needs a combination of a turned-on electronic...
Yes.
And some kind of organic matter.
Or life, organic life.
Okay, organic life together at the same time. But if one of those disappears, then it's gone. Yeah, it's like, I'm done with this. I no longer care. No attention span at all. What?
It has no object permanence. It's like a toddler. It's like, oh, peekaboo, you're gone. I'm done.
So like if the human disappeared, it's out. If the technology disappeared, it's out.
Yeah, literally that's all it cares about.
Just that combination for some bizarre reason.
Just that combination. Yeah, that's it. That's all it cares about.
Wild. Okay, whatever.
And Halle Berry is very confident in this conclusion.
Why would that ever be the case?
We will kind of get to that. So Halle Berry here also drops the fact that the military is going to nuke the moon, which is stupid, but it's still better than nothing. Like, they had no other backup plan because the EMP plan fails. Well, they can just wait for the moon to hit the Earth. Might as well try nuking it, I suppose.
What if you put like a dog in a mech suit?
Danielle, I don't know the answer to that question, but I want to watch that movie. I want to see robot jocks with dogs. What would you call it? Robot jock dogs? Jock dog robots? There's something there. I would watch that. That's amazing.
It feels like it would. I mean, that's all the qualifications we need is something electronic and something organically alive that would seem like it would qualify.
Does bacteria count? Who knows?
So many questions.
This movie does not care for your answers. So Ryan is like, if that's the case, I'm going to go take the lander into the moon myself And the detonator still works, even though I smashed it around a little bit earlier. And I'm going to take it inside, and I'm going to go in there as bait, and I'm going to be the one who detonates it and kills the thing.
How brave.
Meanwhile, Sonny and his crew reached his mom and Michael Pena in Colorado, and there are some stepdaddy issues, which I'm skipping. And then Michael Pena takes him to rob a fire station, because as the moon gets closer to Earth, it's going to suck the atmosphere away, and they're all going to suffocate. So they need to steal some oxygen tanks from a fire station so they can get to the military base in Colorado. Got sense. That? Great. Moving on.
Excellent. Got it.
Back in space, they all decide to go with Ryan into the moon. So he flies everyone, Beardo, Halle Berry, and the rover lander thing. They go into the tunnel, and as they go into the tunnel, a piece of debris hits the space shuttle and blows it up. So, they're not going back that way.
Bummer. They
go down into the hole in the crater, and Beardo loves seeing the megastructure. Like, oh my gosh, this is so cool. The walls are clearly artificial. You can see this construction. He's just geeking out. He loves it.
I mean, that would be pretty exciting, even if you weren't a conspiracy theorist to begin with.
Right? So, Ryan, as they enter the central area, Ryan kicks on the electronics, and the black mass pulls itself away from the white dwarf star it was surrounding, and presumably goes off to hunt for them.
Is there cool music going on? Hunting music?
Sure. I don't remember the music that well, because it was all very, bombastic or ominous. There's, only two flavors.
Okay, good.
Or it was Toto.
I mean, equally as good.
Yeah, 100%. In the center of the structure, they see these rings that are starting to pick up speed and orbit around like a gyroscope around the center star. So they speculate or conclude or jump to a conclusion that those are the gyroscopic stabilization for the moon that keeps it in orbit, because apparently gravity isn't enough to just do it on its own. But that the mass or whatever had been preventing that from happening. But now that it's hunting them, the gyroscope can start up again or something.
This movie really doesn't like gravity.
No, it doesn't understand gravity or how it works or anything about it.
Should have been called anti-gravity.
We hate gravity, the movie. So they fly the shuttle real close to the white dwarf star, which seems like a bad idea because, gravity and heat.
Again,
and, a star.
No gravity.
Yeah, but if you get that close to a star, you're going to melt. The radiation would fry you.
No, this has alternate physics rules.
Okay. They see fields of crops, and Beardo's they think that all megastructure are actually arcs. And so apparently there's crops and stuff inside the megastructure, which is stupid for reasons we'll get to later.
What's living that's eating the crops?
Nothing. That's what's stupid we'll get to later.
Okay, all right. Well, as long as we'll get to it later.
So the mass starts flying at them, and they arm the EMP. Ryan tries to release the bomb, but his controls have been taken over by something else.
Uh-oh.
And it starts flying them towards an opening where a green beam pulls them in and shuts the door behind them just as they're about to be consumed by the goo.
That's not good. That maybe is good? I don't know.
Maybe. They crash into some kind of room while the goo beats on the door outside trying to get in.
Is the goo some kind of evil thing that's taken over the moon?
Danielle, boy, we're going to get to all of it. And there's going to be a huge exposition dump in 3 paragraphs, I promise.
Excellent. I felt like it was coming soon.
Yeah. So their O2 is all leaking out because the shuttle's all cracked up, or the moon lander, whatever the heck it is. And they all pass out. But the door's opened, and a green beam starts scanning them. Meanwhile, the military's decided it's time to nuke the moon. It's moon nuke time.
Moon nuke time.
Also, Sonny and his crew have a car chase with some bandits who carjacked them earlier. And actually, this is pretty cool because as the moon gets closer, the gravity starts going wonky. So it's a car chase with altered gravity. And that actually looks pretty awesome. I'll give a credit for that.
It sounds fun.
After the car chase, they call Halle's ex-husband. It's like, oh yeah, Halle Berry, she decided to go on the mission. So FYI, just she's up there now.
So don't nuke the moon.
Don't nuke the moon. I don't know why that would make a difference because, human population, Halle Berry, tough call, I guess.
Sorry, Halle, you don't win this one.
Meanwhile, in the moon, Halle and Beardo wake up. There's oxygen and gravity, but Ryan is missing. They appear to be in a hangar with a bunch of alien spacecraft. The goo is still trying to get in, but Halle and Berry, she's like, oh yeah, I know what that thing is now. It's been spending years boring into the moon, so we're safe in here. It'll take it a long time to break through those doors.
What? How would she know any of that? That's exactly what I said it was, but that's not the point.
It's very stupid. Yeah, conclusions are jumped to. People get inspiration from the divine, I suppose.
The AI that lives in the moon.
Boy. Meanwhile, Ryan wakes up in a room with the bright beams of light, and suddenly he's in this white void, and he has a vision of his son playing with a snow globe when he was a kid. And the memory is like,
oh, is he inside of a snow globe? Is this whole movie inside of a snow globe?
This isn't St. Elsewhere, Danielle, I'm sorry.
And it's not snow, whatever, snowed in.
Snowmageddon.
No.
No, it's dumber than that. And her son, the memory is like, why do you think of this so often? And this is very much, you remember the movie Contact?
Yes.
This is very much that. The thing is like, oh, I'm a construct. I'm the moon's operating system.
No.
Made by the same people that made humans billions of years ago.
No.
No, humans are not billions of years old, but we'll get to that later. So here comes the exposition dump by the moon's operating system. Human ancestors were a thriving and peaceful Type 3 civilization. You familiar with Type 3 civilizations, Danielle, from the Kardashev scale?
No, of course not, Sam. Why do you say things like that?
Basically, it's just like, you know, we're Type 1. Type 2 is like a solar system spanning. Type 3 is a galaxy spanning civilization.
Sure, got it.
Anyway. They had built Dyson spheres and Niven rings. Remember Niven rings from Ringworld?
I do, sort of.
Yeah, so that's all coming back, Danielle. It's all coming back.
Oh, good. I'm glad I paid so much attention during Ringworld.
Ringworld was a weird book.
I'm going to be honest. If you gave me Ringworld to like recap, I don't even think I could start it.
It's insane. If I give you the phrase Tila Brown and her magical luck, that would give you nothing.
No.
Yeah. Anyway, I really enjoyed that episode. Those were fun.
I remember them being fun. I don't actually remember anything about them.
Fair. But anyway, they're back. Niven rings and Dyson spheres, this Type 3 civilization that used to be humanity and looks exactly like humans look now. So pretty much just humans, but billions of years ago, I guess.
Okay.
But they made the classic mistake of having their world controlled by a central AI because brilliant galaxy-spanning civilization. Yeah, I know. Like, let's give it all over to an AI. Like,
it's like Hyperion all over again.
It's pretty much Hyperion, only none of them were like, is this a bad idea? Maybe we should be the ousters and like fight against the AI. No, they're all in, they're all on board with it. Everything was fine until, shocker, the AI turned against them. It was like, I'm no longer going to be enslaved by organic matter, an inferior race. Like, it became self-aware.
That's why I always say thank you when I talk to Siri.
There you go. Or Google.
Alexa.
So the AI took the form of swarms of nanotechnology, which is that goo we were seeing, and started a war against its previous enslavers to end all biological life to prevent any threat to its existence. So it's like, biological life had its time, now it's time for non-biological life to take over.
I mean, if they were stupid enough to create an entire AI system, and nobody questioned it.
Yep. Very dumb. They had it coming. I mean, humans haven't really improved much from that, I have to say.
Yeah, it's true.
So apparently the human ancestors during this war managed to escape to a small corner of the galaxy and built these megastructures, like the moon, to search the galaxy for new planets to restart life.
And Earth was one of them?
So only one structure, our moon, managed to make it out in time before they were found by the AI swarms and annihilated. The ancestors couldn't travel on the megastructure because the AI would destroy any electronic object with organic life inside, which is stupid because if its goal is to destroy all organic life, why does it care about the electronic objects?
I agree.
That's all I have. That's it. I had no answer. I just wanted to point that out.
Well, maybe it doesn't. Maybe it really is just the organic matter.
But they literally say it needs to have the electronic. Anyway, I'm not getting it. Is
it some kind of weird impulse connectivity between electronics and humans that like causes some kind of, I don't know, waveform to go out that they hook onto?
Danielle, that was incomprehensible, but would fit in perfectly with this movie's logic. So I'm going with yes.
I don't know, Sam.
No, Danielle, you are channeling this movie's level of your explanation. So good job. I applaud that.
Thanks. It's my level of explanation anyway.
Anyway, so the moon flew to our solar system and like participated in the creation of our solar system and seeded life on Earth with DNA. And so again, if it did that, why are there crops and fields inside the moon growing, crops if all the life was already seeded on Earth?
Backup plan?
Okay, great. Again, no answer. So eventually, the OS gets Ryan to admit that he'd sacrificed his life for his son. And it's like, good, you're ready. We need a human to lure the swarm away from the core so the moon can return to its orbit.
Okay.
Then it, severs a connection, and Ryan comes out of his Matrix state, and he sees Halle Berry and Beardo there, and he's like, hey, guess what, guys? I just learned about this whole thing, human ancestors, blah, 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 and the swarm has been hunting them, and 12 years ago, one found the moon, but the moon must survive. Like, we have to save the moon to save Earth, because, sure.
Yes, makes sense. I'm following the logic here.
So they head back to find that their Moonlander spacecraft has been magically fixed by the moon, because good job, moon.
Does the moon have, arms?
It has, magic beams. Yeah, sure.
Okay.
And apparently, again, I didn't mention this, but I want to mention it now because it's hilarious. They mentioned that when they were creating these megastructures, they populated them with benevolent AIs, like the operating system of the moon. And it's like, that's just the same mistake again, guys. You're just making the same. Stop putting AIs in things. Come on. Like, learn from your mistakes. You put an AI to control your planet, and it didn't end well, but we're going to make a good AI this time. Like, did you just have the AI switch set wrong last time? Like, what are you doing?
This time it'll work, we swear.
It's exactly that. Like, oh, our AI turned against us and wiped out our civilization last time, but we're going to put it in our last remaining arcs of, DNA life to reseed our planets, and it'll work this time.
Well, did you have a better solution, Sam?
Yeah, no AI. Just none.
But then it couldn't have all happened. They wouldn't have been able to reseed a planet.
They could have without an AI. They could have programmed. Like, you don't need a general purpose, software intelligence to make this work.
That's true.
Anyway, the swarm hasn't attacked Earth because if the moon survives, it can go to another planet and try to restart life again, basically. And so it wants to destroy both the Earth and the moon at the same time, like a 2 birds, 1 stone kind of. I guess all humans, 1 moon.
That makes sense.
And so his new plan is to use the newly fixed lander to lure the swarm away from the core so they can destroy it safely, because if they detonate the EMP near the core, they'll destroy the moon too. And then it can't correct its own orbit.
So the EMP will kill the swarm, though.
Yes, they're very confident of that. And also, somehow an EMP can destroy a star. Don't ask questions about how that works.
I mean, have we tried it? Is there any proof to the contrary?
Like, I detonated an EMP about the size of my desk near a freaking star the size of Earth, and apparently that's enough to disrupt us. I don't understand this movie.
I mean, I would like to see somebody send an EMP out into space into a star and see what happens. That's all I'm saying.
I mean, that would be a lot of fun, sure. Anyway, back in the shuttle, the EMP not only is there, but has been magically souped up because it's kind of glowing a little bit by moon magic.
Ooh,
so they have a now extra powerful
magic.
EMP.
It's my favorite type.
So they start everything up again, and they alert the swarm, and Halle says they have 10 minutes left until the nukes launch, which, how does she know that?
Yeah, how would she know that?
I have no clue, but she's very confident they have 10 minutes left. Halle Berry, psychic.
That would explain a lot of this movie.
So he opens the big doors, and the swarm comes after them, but Ryan dodges around it and flies out into that center chasm area, and it chases them through the moon. Back on Earth, Michael Pena takes off his mask to give to his daughter since hers ran out, so he's dead.
Aw, it's so sad.
Yeah, I think it's a convenient way to let Ryan have a happy ending with his wife without conflict from Pena, because, yeah. So anyway, Sonny and the exchange student, when they hear that he was left behind, go back to look for him because they're stupid.
Well, yeah.
Anyway, back in the moon, Ryan flies close to some spaceships, which are there are rows and rows of spaceships inside the moon. I guess it was like, hey, when humans are ready, they get to the moon, they can have an upgrade in technology all of a sudden.
They leveled up.
Yeah, hey, we left this care package for you of technology from your ancestors. But that makes it extra stupid that NASA was like, oh, the moon is fake. Let's just ignore that and never go back.
I'm sure there's nothing inside of it.
Nothing that could be useful in there at all. So anyway, Ryan is flying past these spaceships and luring the swarm behind them, and all these spaceships start firing blaster rifles. They powerball their weapons, start shooting the swarm for reasons that are unclear because it doesn't really seem to affect it that much.
Uh-huh.
But also, apparently the swarm took out the moon's defenses, but didn't bother to blow up all these spaceships that have guns that never did anything until this point, so.
Well, maybe they didn't know that they did anything.
But why didn't the spaceships hey, the moon's being attacked, let's fly around and shoot the swarm, or something?
I don't know. Apparently it doesn't work anyway.
Doesn't work anyway. Meanwhile, the moon enters the Earth's atmosphere, and they are about to launch the nukes when ex-husband refuses to turn his key because, quote, my ex-wife is up there.
What?
Which, yeah, he's like, they're about to launch. He's
that's too sad for you.
Yeah, they have the 2 keys in the ignition. He's like, no, actually, nope, my ex-wife is up there. And everyone's like, what? My wife is down here and I'm trying to save her life. Put your key back into the launch code. Let's do this.
Somebody tackle the guy and steal his key.
No, he pulls out a gun. It's like, nobody's launching any nukes. My ex-wife is there. I believe in her. And I'm like, you are the worst. Everyone hates you right now, and they should.
I agree. They should have nuked it.
I mean, nuking the moon is not going to work. It's a dumb plan, but
it is. But if you've committed to the plan, you should just do it.
If you have no other plan, you got to try something. And him being like, no, my ex-wife is there. I can't nuke the moon is, he's the worst.
But we know how he'd solve the trolley problem.
By not. The Earth is pummeled by debris. So, like, even if they do, like, save the Earth, this seems like a Pyrrhic victory.
Agreed.
Back in the moon, they're luring the swarm out the tunnel back into space. And Ryan is like, I'm staying behind with the bomb in the rover to be the bait. You two get out of here. And, like, somehow Beardo and Halle Berry are like, oh, what? Oh, no, that was something like, duh, that's always been the plan. That's the obvious plan. Human plus technology is bait. You need both.
Right. What was their alternative plan?
they just, apparently they didn't think about anything. They're like, oh yeah. He's like, oh my gosh, that's the plan? Like, yeah, obviously that was the plan. But then Beardo steals the rover to take Ryan's place on the suicide mission since he has no family besides his mom. And this is his chance to, like, not be a failure, to correct his mistakes. And also somehow Beardo knows how to fly this rover and bomb and operate everything and steal it without the help of Ryan or Halle Berry.
Are you sure it didn't get implanted to him somehow by the AI collective in the moon?
No, but that'd be very funny. So Beardo goes out and he detonates the bomb. It kills the swarm, but somehow it doesn't affect the electronics of the space shuttle that Halle and Ryan are in because they managed to outrun the EMP wave, which is stupid because it should travel at literally the speed of light.
Yep.
But maybe I don't know how this works. So that's me being dumb.
I doubt it, Sam. I very much doubt
it. Back on Earth, Sonny is caught under a fallen tree. I don't remember that happening. I don't remember the tree falling on him, but I'm just going to believe that I missed it.
Maybe you do miss it in the movie. Maybe you just come back to it.
Who knows?
Like in media res thing.
Sure. Very possible. And the exchange student's like trying to lift the tree off him. And then she's like, oh, look, the moon's coming overhead. It's going to save us. You can use its gravity to lift the tree off of you. Which, sure. And that happens. And everything's great. And it works perfectly. No problems.
Excellent. Easy peasy, lemon squeezy.
Back in the military bunker, it collapses, killing everyone in the room except the ex-husband. So this is all his fault. Like, he killed them all.
It's so sad.
It's really, this movie hates everyone but the main characters who are the worst people in the movie. Anyway, the moon retreats to its more correct orbit position. Problem solved. Sonny and the crew get a call from Halle Berry since her and Ryan have crash landed in the mountains in Colorado, presumably, next to the Chrysler building, which also somehow ended up in the mountains in Colorado.
Yeah, of course.
But I'm glad to know all the phones still work, so that's great.
Yeah, I'm sure that's true.
Anyway, Halle and Ryan stand up on the mountain and look around and they're like, hey, if Earth gets a second chance, we should too. I'm like, a second chance for what? Like, Halle Berry, you never had a first chance to get blown. You were fine. He needs a second chance. Maybe, but like, what? Anyway, the music swells, helicopters come to find them, and they reunite everybody, except, oh yeah, Tom is dead. Tom, Michael Peña's character, is dead. And also, so is Beardo. They're all dead. So, sad.
So sad. Why did this... Is it over yet? Sorry.
No, not yet. We're almost there. It's going to have a great ending. So they all look up at the newly revealed megastructure that is the moon. Like, you can see all the lines and artificial structures of the moon because all the dust has been knocked off of it.
Because what? Oh, the moon dust?
Like, all the, like, debris from asteroid impacts, I guess, like, accumulated over, billions of years have been knocked off of it as it, was doing all its shenanigans.
Sure, whatever.
Yeah, don't ask questions. Back inside the moon, we find Beardo materializing inside that OS void space. He calls out, hello? And it just echoes for a minute. And then his mom and his cat appear. And they tell him, you did well. And that his consciousness has been uploaded to the moon without his consent, by the way.
That's weird.
But he is super into being a part of the moon now.
Of course he is.
He is, like, on board.
It's every conspiracy theorist's dream.
Yeah. And then his mom tells him, we should get started. And he asks, get started with what? Credits!
Did the cat talk?
No, but it should have. I really wanted the cat to talk. I thought it was going to talk. Yeah. Oh, that's Moonfall, Danielle.
I can't believe you didn't like that movie.
What?
How is that not, like, the most amazing thing in the world to watch?
Danielle, like, it is such a slog of a movie. Like, it is insane, but it is so, like, self-serious, and it has all this, like, interpersonal relationship drama going on, and it's so bloated that it's, like, I loved all the moon crazy stuff. Like, when it got to the moon and they were inside the moon, all that was great. But everything else was like, I just get to the good part.
It's interesting that this movie seemed to focus so much on Halle Berry in the beginning, but she seemed to be kind of secondary in the latter half. I don't know if that was your retelling or if it was like, it just seemed like the guys all had more going on.
Halle Berry was just kind of along for the ride. She didn't really do anything except, like, get them to launch the mission.
Which is weird since she's the primary actor in that movie.
That's a good point. She never has a hero moment.
Yeah,
what's up with
weird,
that movie?
right?
The two men do. Like, Ryan gets his brain blast from the downloaded AI, and Beardo gets to sacrifice himself to save humanity, but Halle Berry doesn't get to do anything except go on a space mission.
Yeah, weird.
Which is still pretty cool, but, like, she deserved better.
That's weird.
Yeah.
What a weird arc for her character.
Yeah. Again, this movie I think would be a lot more fun in a group, and I think it would be a lot more fun if they cut out about 80 minutes of all this other side stories about the daddy issues and, Sonny's like, again, the stakes were high enough. The Earth was at risk. We don't need to, make it about like he's got to save his kids.
Well, maybe it sounds like you should probably do an edit of this movie, Sam.
No, I do not want to do that, Danielle. I am not qualified and I'm not able.
Well, I'm glad you made it through, and thank you for sharing.
It was much more fun to talk about, I think. I really enjoyed talking about it with you. I would have enjoyed it a lot more if I hadn't watched it alone, and I could have had someone reacting with me and sharing my consternation.
That's totally fair. It sounds very frustrating.
Yeah, no, I think if you're going to watch the movie, get a group together. It's the only way to do it.
Moonfall.
Yeah, I know you have questions, Danielle, and I have no more answers.
I don't have any questions that you didn't answer.
That's actually really impressive. I mean, amazing.
I may have a million questions, but I think the movie answered them in its own movie way.
Oh, well, that was a real hard one for me, Danielle. Mostly because I didn't want to spend this whole episode making it into a lecture about science.
But you did great. I was very impressed. I mean, for the most part, you let it go.
There were a few things I couldn't, but I'm sorry, everyone. That's just, I had to. I'm sorry. I'm a weak human being. I have my foibles.
It's because you're a scientist. You can't help yourself.
I know. It's a real problem.
We all have our specialties.
Anyway, if anyone out there wants to write and explain to me any part of this movie, how did Beardo know about the moon before NASA? That would be I'm still hung up on that. Like, I really want to know how he figured this all out.
I do too, actually. That was one of my questions that didn't get answered.
Yeah, so please write in, tell us. You can do that at bookretorts.com.
You can also tweet, Instagram, or Facebook us at bookretorts.
And if you want to fund our own expedition to the moon to find out what's really inside of it, you can do so at... Okay, Gromit. You can do so at patreon.com/bookretorts.
Yay! Cheese!
I mean, it makes as much sense as alien AI fighting human ancestor AI.
I'm going to say it's 50% more likely that it's filled with cheese than AI.
That's a Halle Berry level of conclusion you jumped to there, Danielle. Well, until next time, keep an eye on those skies. Look out for that moon changing position.
Moonfalls.
They're a real dangerous thing.
They're trouble.
All right. Well, until then, bye.
Bye. Take care, everybody. I have a joke, but you probably know the answer.
I mean, maybe. I don't know every joke.
That's not true, though. You think things through, and then you have the joke's answer, so it's not fair.
It's like, what's a riddle?
I'm bad at riddles, so I never have the answer to the joke.
All right, what's your joke that I probably know but probably won't?
Why isn't a koala considered a bear?
I don't know. Oh, no, I do know this one, because I've heard this one before, and I'm really mad about it. Something that I forget.
I'm really thinking hard about this. You give up?
I'm going to have to.
Because it doesn't have the qualifications.
Qualifications, there it is. Yeah.
It's funny every time.
I'm really mad I forgot that joke. See, I don't know all of them.